Ladies and gentlemen, the prodigal son has returned, man. Come on. Deadline day special. Very last day of the season. Listen, I have not posted half as many videos that I wanted to post this season, but due to a whole lot of technical difficulties and errors, but that's in the past now. I'm back on the final day of pretty much the season. I know we've got a Club World Cup to get to, which I'll make sure to keep my eye on and keep these videos up for that. But I just came back from, excuse the bright colors, it doesn't look like it, but I just came back from a funeral, man. They hosted a funeral at the Allianz Arena in Munich, and I must say, the team that I was supporting all throughout the campaign, they put them to the sword tonight, man. They put them to the sword, dug a 6 foot grave, put the coffin in there, close it up, and put a nice tombstone on it. Five. Five. I have never seen that in a final, man. My goodness. Oh, that was tough to watch. That was tough to watch. And I'll tell you why it was so tough to watch, right? It's because, so last year, before a ball was even kicked, before all the fixtures had been drawn out, I said my prediction was Inter Milan this season, it's their season. They're going to go ahead and go to the final, and when they get to the final, they're going to win the whole damn thing. That's what I said last year in August. And boy, was I wrong. I mean, I wasn't that wrong because I got to the final, so I at least 90% there. But then the remaining 10% was just, I was awfully wrong. Because when they got to where they got to the final, I don't know, man. I don't know. But anyway, let's get to the let's speak about the Champions League this season, right? Because we had a new phase, a new campaign structure or a new format. And some may have enjoyed it, some may have not. But I think if you watch the whole season as a whole, from beginning to the end, I think we can all agree on one thing. It was a fantastic campaign. It really, really was. It was probably one of the best campaigns we've seen in a really, really long time. For me personally, the last great campaign I saw was the 2021 season because we won it. Yeah, it was great. What can I say, man? It was great. From a biased point of view, it was a fantastic campaign. But none like this one, man. This one felt truly special. I think from the get go, you had teams that you did not expect to be finishing as low as they did in the league phase, like your Madrids, your Cities, and your PSGs. Because if you weren't following the entire campaign all along, then I think you will know that PSG were actually down in the dumps for the league phase of it. Like not down in the dumps. That's a bit of an exaggeration, but they really weren't doing great. It looked like we were getting the same PSG that we always see in Europe. You know, they've got very good players, but and in the league, they do fine. They do fine. That's not a problem for PSG. Winning the league or doing very well in the league, for them, it's never really a concern. Only every couple of years does a team rise up and usurp the crown and the throne from PSG. But this season, again, it looked like it was going to be the same tale. PSG doing well in the league, but struggling in Europe. And struggle they did. They had some tough run of fixtures in the group stage, I must say. They had to face Atletico Madrid head on, and they lost that game. They faced Arsenal, they lost that game. They had to face City, and they won that game. Now, I want to speak from that point. Now, that win against City, that was a statement win. For me, it feels almost like that is when the resurgence of PSG started. And in the moment, I could feel it. I mean, I didn't think they would go on and win the entire damn thing or even end up in the final, but it just felt like a resurgence. The PSG we'd been seeing for the past couple of weeks in the group stages, it looked like they were actually going to go on to the competition and do pretty decently, you know? And so that win against City, like, because they went 2-0 down, that was the most impressive part of it all. So in the first half, I think it was 1-0 or 0-0. In the second half, City got two quick fire goals, or they just added to their one goal. And listen, man, that game was electric. I think PSG's attack was simply sensational. Their midfield, the player who stood out the most in that game was João Neves. Now, João Neves at that point in time, he was doing pretty well in the league, very good midfielder. And but in that game, I think that's when he pretty much started staking his claim as one of the best defensive midfielders in Europe. Period. And I'll say this: I think with all signings that have gone on since last summer, I would say I think João Neves is probably the best signing in Europe. I mean, they got rid of Ugarte for like 50 to 55 million, and then they PSG went and got João Neves from Benfica for 60 million. And when he came, he hit the ground running in the league. And from that game, as I'm saying, the game against City, he put his feet 10 toes to the ground, and you could see that there was a special player in there. Such a short guy, man. He is so small. He is so small, but he's a demon on the pitch in midfield, an absolute linchpin. I mean, oh, man, that guy is incredible. With the ball at his feet, recovering the ball, just the tackles he puts in, he is absolutely immense. He makes Ruiz and Vitinha, he makes that whole midfield work with the amount of hard work that he puts in. Not that the other guys don't put in any hard work, don't get me wrong, they really do. But that man is simply sensational, man. Oh, man. And after that City game, PSG still didn't get automatic qualification. Brilliant win it was to come back 2-0 down and win 4-2 in the second half. But it wasn't that clear cut of a path for them. They had to still play in the playoffs to get into the round of 16, and they pretty much cruised past Stade Brestois, and they beat them like, I think it was like, they put seven past them. Insane. And after that, they really didn't look like they were looking back at all. They played all four Premier League teams that we sent to the Champions League, and they sent them all packing. Spliftings, no lie. Like none of the. I think probably Villa came the closest to looking like they could beat PSG, but only in the second leg. But otherwise, no. PSG have been on stick talk for the entirety of the season, and well, yeah, they beat all of the teams when it mattered because they did lose to Arsenal in the group stages, but no one cares about that, honestly. No one really does. They beat Arsenal when it mattered most. So there you have it. And oh man, wait, where do we start with this PSG resurgence? I think it all stems from one man and one man only. And his name is Luis Enrique. Now, Luis Enrique, I'm sure or every football fan knows that Luis Enrique is a fantastic manager. We all know what he did with Barca. He won a treble with Barca, which was simply stunning. And but I think, in my opinion, this might be his magnum opus. This might be the greatest work of his career just yet, because for a team who have never won the Champions League, they've tried and tried and tried and failed every single time. They've come close once, reaching the final in 2020, but it just never worked out. And with how PSG have been recruiting for the past 10 to 15 years, the Galactico signings that they've been making, the statement signings, every window, they've got to go out in the window, splurge money for a big signing, get them in. But when Luis Enrique came, he almost felt like the guy that they've been waiting for ever since this whole project began, ever since that Saudi investment in 2011, well, Qatari investment in 2011. And look, man, when Luis Enrique took over, it's his second season. Last season, he obviously still had Mbappe. He needed to work that out. But even coaching Mbappe out of the side, I think he did a great job of that. I think PSG fans could maybe see that there is a future beyond Mbappe, but I do not think, I doubt any of the PSG fans knew that the future looked so bright without killing Mbappe. And listen, man, Luis Enrique, what a manager he is. A quadruple. Think about that. A quadruple. That is absolutely fantastic, man. That is absolutely insane. I'm actually in awe of the football that they've been playing. I mean, just the squad. It's such a fun and electric squad. Like, from the fullbacks, I think that PSG with those fullbacks, they are such a threat, man. Like those two high flying fullbacks, Hakimi on the right, well, Hakimi on the right, my right, and my man Nuno Mendes on the left. They're absolutely devastating. Where they it's defensive work great just in general when they don't have the ball, and then going forward, they are absolutely lethal. I think they could go band, okay, not really go band for band with Trent and Robertson, but they're really up there. They really are. And whatever team could have those two would be extremely lucky. And man, but a little bit, that's enough about PSG for now. We'll get back to them. Let's talk about Inter, because like I said, they were my favorites to go and win the entire damn thing, and they started off like a house on fire. Inter are just they're not they may be to the everyday fan, or maybe to fans in general. They're not the most exciting team to watch. To me, they are, because I just love the system that Inzaghi utilizes. And having watched Inter for so long and them being one of my favorite teams in the world, there's some bias there for sure. But it's just, he's created such a perfect system. So no matter who he takes out of the team and replaces them, no matter if it's even if it's not a starter, it almost feels like the result is going to be the same. You're going to get Inzaghi's football and you're going to get a win. You're going to be defensively resolute, the midfield is going to do its job, and the attack is going to be absolutely efficient. And again, I mean, look, in 8 league games during the Champions League, the group stage, they conceded 1 goal. And when that happened, after that group stage phase happened, and they'd only considered 1 goal, I was like, it's happening. It's going back home to the San Siro, man. It's going to the San Siro. There's no other way. There's no other team. I know Barcelona had an incredible attack, but that Inter defense and that effectiveness up front, I thought it was unmatched. And for the most part, that was absolutely correct. Today's game is just a very big dampener on the entire season as a whole, because for a team that is so defensively resolute and doesn't concede a whole lot of goals, they conceded way too many goals in the 2 legs of the semi-final and tonight. I mean, but the result against Barca, it was a win, but the defense, it was forgiven, because there's no one who, I don't think anyone except for maybe Inzaghi would complain that Inter leaked so many goals, because it made for a spectacular showing. Barcelona versus Inter is probably the greatest two-legged tie I have ever seen in my life. I've been watching football for a really long time, but I don't think I've ever seen a two-legged tie as exciting as that one. And Inter, man, like they've got a really old squad. They've got an old squad, a cheap squad, but that doesn't really matter, because again, the system and they're just the unity in general is just so damn good. They're not individuals, they're a whole, they're a unit, and throughout the entire season, that's been very evident. It's a thing of like Inter, they've let themselves down majorly. They've lost games that they shouldn't have lost towards the run in the season. Going from the league, losing out on 2 points to Napoli, and then going on to lose 5-0 in the final versus PSG. Conceding five, and oh man, that was such a damaging result for them. But let's talk about the game. Enough about all the context and everything that happened in the past. Let's talk about tonight's game. Now, the first half from Inter was timid. It was it lacked bravery. It lacked the oomph of a final. They looked like they were still in the dressing room by the time they got onto the pitch, man. They didn't hit the ground running at all. PSG were just piling the pressure, getting at them, getting at them, getting at them. And PSG's press from the front was so aggressive. Inter were often playing the ball out from the back. They would try, but PSG would just try and close them in as much as they could, pushing players up the pitch, making that front press super aggressive, that Inter couldn't really play out from the back the way that they wanted to. Because oftentimes, I saw a couple of times, Soma would get the ball, pass it to one of the center backs. the center backs get immediately closed down and they can't see a way out, and they end up passing the ball back to Jan Sommer. And that must have filled them up with a lot of nerves, seeing that they can't get out of their own half. But they considered two goals. The first one coming courtesy of Desiree Doué, laying it on a golden platter for Achraf Hakimi, that's probably one of the easiest goals he'll ever score, because the Inter defense was just caught sleeping. They were napping. That was shocking defending from Inter. Like it almost felt like the entire defense were just moving out of position the entire time for that goal. Like it took like two or three balls, and the entire interline was just discombobulated. They did not know what was happening, and that's how they gifted Hakimi one of the easiest goals he'll ever score in his career. You know, and again, Desiree Dua was absolutely fantastic. He ran that interline ragged. He was popping up everywhere in that front line. I mean, look, he's playing on the right, but he assisted that first goal on the edge of the box, but from the left hand side. And yeah, and then Desiree Dua then himself gets a goal. A huge and very unfortunate deflection for Demarco, but Inter gets beaten at his near post, and that became a recurring theme. Sommer at the near post. Damn. For a goalkeeper who performed the way that he did against Barcelona versus tonight, I thought he had a shocking game. That was absolutely terrible from Jan Sommer, unfortunately. And again, man, I that whole first half, the best that Inter could do was play long to Marcus Thuram, and he does a very great and excellent job of holding the ball up when he's on an island by himself, so that his teammates can come in and then he can have a lane to pass through, and the team can go forward and attack as a unit. But today, PSG, William Pacho and Marquinhos were absolutely onto him. As soon as he got that ball, they were onto him. And whenever Inter did get a lucky break, it did not amount to much at all. In fact, I may need to go and rewatch the game to see exactly what went wrong with Inter, but I don't know. I can't even recall them forcing Donnarumma to make a good save tonight. That's how bad it was. It was a capitulation, to say the least. They capitulated in the final. They undid all of their wonderful work that they did throughout the entirety of the season. And I don't get it. I really don't. I don't know what went wrong. I really don't. Like, that's what I'm saying. I may need to go back and rewatch the game, the whole 90 minutes, and analyze from what I can see or what exactly went wrong. But let's talk about what PSG got right. First of all, like I said, that front press, that high press on the defense in that first half was immaculate. That was great play from PSG. They knew exactly what they wanted to do. They knew exactly how to neutralize Inter. Because Inter, they've both got us. Each team has an attacking set of wingbacks or fullbacks. Inter with the wingbacks and PSG with fullbacks, but they pretty much do the same. They pretty much do the same thing. They're like supplementary wingers for each respective team. But PSG's gambit paid off, and Inter Milan's one fell completely flat. And so when they don't, Inter didn't have any width tonight. Good work by PSG. No control in the midfield. Great work by João Neves, Fabian Ruiz, and Vitinha, who absolutely ran the show. I don't know who played better than who tonight, because that's just how excellent each of them were. And Enrique just got his tactics really spot on tonight, from the entirety of the lineup to how they played on the pitch. Desiree Doué instead of Bacola, which has been a theme, but in the beginning of the season, Bacola was the one who was starting, but he changed it to Desiree Doué, and it was absolutely correct because he's been electric. That is the golden boy, indeed. If anyone could beat him to the golden boy, it'd probably be Pau Kubasi. But I mean, after tonight's performance, it's gotta be obvious. Then it's gotta be obvious. It's gotta be my man Desiree Doué there. But man, PSG were absolutely fantastic tonight, man. Every single time, it almost felt like they were creating a chance every 5 minutes. It almost feels like Inter were lucky that it only ended 5-0, because it honestly, genuinely could have been worse. It genuinely could have been worse. I mean, and the fact that they were taunting Sommer almost, trying to go for the near post every single time. I recall, I remember throwing my hands in the air when Bakula got the ball on the edge of the box, a little shimmy this way, shimmy that way. He drops Achebi. And then instead of slotting it in the far corner, which I thought if he did, I think he genuinely would have scored. But he went for the near post because why not? Inter's, I mean, Soma has shown all night that he's struggling to guard that near post. And there you had it, man. Four near post goals. I don't even know what to say about that one, man. I really, really don't know what to say. But tonight was psychological torment for Inter. I don't know where they go from here. What the future has in store for them. They're still a great team. Don't get it twisted. Absolutely fantastic. But tonight was just one of those nights where again, they just undid all the good work that they've done. The faith that they've been building up within the whole squad, within everyone else who is maybe a fan of Inter, likes Inter. Tonight was just not it, man. It really, really, really was not. It was an abysmal showing. To show up to a final like that after all the work you've been putting through from in the campaign, it's just damning, man. It's just really, really, really damning. And look, man, the player of the match deservedly went to Desiree Doué. There was absolutely no doubt in my mind that it would go to him. Two goals, one assist. Absolutely fantastic. Top notch from the boy. And again, I think he's definitely winning the golden boy for this year. But only because Lamine can't win it again. But that is fine. What if we're talking about trophies, individual trophies and individual honors? We gotta talk about the Ballon d'Or. You know what I'm saying? We gotta talk about the Ballon d'Or, bruv. And I wonder where Mbappe's at right now. I wonder how he's feeling. I'm sure he's probably, congratulated his former team. But never in a million years did anyone, or even Mbappe himself, ever think that the future for PSG could be this bright without Kylian Mbappe. And damn, it's bright. Tonight is glistening. You see that silverware? Shwing! Telling you, man. And individual trophies, look, Dembele has got a watertight case to win the Ballon d'Or this year. And man, what a story that would be. The fact that Dembele, Mbappe's rival from when they were younger. I say rival, I'm not sure if it was really a rivalry like that because I know they're friends, but they were probably the two of the best youngsters on the planet. And they're both French. They both started out in the French league. And the other guy, Dembele, he got his big money move to Barcelona, but with injuries, he sort of faded to obscurity while Kylian Mbappe was lighting up the world at every stage. Champions League, Ligue 1, the World Cup. He was doing everything right. He seemed destined for a Ballon d'Or. And he still is. I was to Mbappe, I'm confident before he retires, Mbappe will at least one Ballon d'Or because it's not like his talent has gone anywhere. But it's just the fact that the one guy who faded into obscurity with so many injuries and not getting, well, he did get it. He got opportunities at Barca whenever he was fit, but that was the problem. He was never fit. And he came to PSG last year and he played with Mbappe. And Mbappe was clearly the superior player. Clearly. Dembele last season, he looked like he lacked hunger. He lacked the finishing touch, which he magically found this season. And he's won a quadruple this season, and he's been the leading man, no doubt. He's been the leading man, scoring the goals, coming up big in the moments, and Ballon d'Or, Ballon d'Or, man. He might just win the Ballon d'Or, and I don't know how that's gonna make Mbappe feel, but he better pull up his socks, man. He better pull up his socks, and I think it just goes to show what a lovely sport football is, and how cruel it can be at the very, very same time. So yeah, man, in that match for Inter, football is a very, very cruel sport. But I don't know if it was self inflicted or, like, again, I need to go back and watch the game. But for PSG, a first Champions League in their history, what a lovely game football is. What a lovely game it is, man.